Self awareness is critical to your growth. It impacts how you do life, it impacts how you do relationships. If you're not self aware, if you're not clear on your values, your beliefs, you could end up making mistakes when it comes to relationships. Hi, guys. Welcome to another episode of Life Lessons with Law. My name is Loretta Gerard, and you already know that on this space, we like to have open, honest, authentic, heart to heart conversations on everything pertaining to love, life, faith, and womanhood. So, if this is your first time listening to the podcast, or maybe you're watching this on YouTube for the first time, thank you so much for choosing to hang out with me. And if you are a returning listener or subscriber, girl, look at you. Don't worry, first I'm going to get a talking drum to play for you for those of you who keep coming back. Thank you so much for coming back again and again and choosing to, listen to what we have to say and supporting the channel. Thank you so much. So if you have not subscribed already, please do so right now. Okay, let's get straight into it. All right, on today's episode, I'm going to be talking about self-awareness and how you can begin your self-awareness journey if you haven't done so already. And I'm just going to be talking about why it's important and some of the ways that you can get started. So, if you are already on the self-awareness journey, I want to hear all about it. So put it down in the comment section. Let me know where you're at. Let me know how it started for you. Let me know how it's going. Okay. Let's all learn and grow together. But if you're just beginning this journey, then this video is definitely for you. All right. Okay. Now let's start by understanding what exactly is self-awareness. What is this thing? Why do we always talk about self-awareness? Look, I'm going to be very real with you. I think that self-awareness is one of the greatest gifts that you can give yourself as a person. And in my previous video, I talked about 11 signs that show that you are growing as a person. And one of the key signs that I mentioned in that video was self-awareness, growing in your self-awareness. So, and if you haven't watched that video, I'm going to put it in the description, link it here so that you can go and watch it. It's a really interesting one. But self-awareness, I think, is fundamental to your growth, fundamental to your personal development, your personal growth, and even you excelling as a person. Look, honestly, when I meet people who are not self-aware, or who are not even trying to be self-aware, or who are not learning to be self-aware, I know. Because when you're self aware, you are very in touch with yourself. Now, what is self awareness? Self awareness is basically knowing who you are as a person. Self awareness is knowing yourself, the intrinsic and extrinsic details of who you are as a person. Self awareness is knowing how you operate in this world, knowing how you function, knowing the things that make you tick, understanding your triggers, understanding how you function and how you behave in certain situations. So that's why self awareness is so critical. To know who you are is the first step in your personal development journey. Personally, my whole self-awareness journey was triggered by a failed relationship. I'd been in a relationship with someone and it ended. It was a very devastating breakup, sort of, which, to be honest, now that I look back, I'm so thankful that it happened. At that time, it was a devastating heartbreak, and it made me go back to the drawing board. And I began to ask myself questions like, how did I end up in this relationship? Why did how did I find myself in this relationship? What did I do wrong? How could I what were the behaviors or characteristics or traits? To me, it was not just about blaming the other party. It wasn't about saying, oh, this person was the bad person. Of course, it takes two to tango, and the other person to had his own flaws and his own mistakes, and he didn't do a lot of things 100% perfect. But I was looking at myself, right? It was turning the mirror to myself and saying, okay, I think I need to understand what exactly did I not do right, just so that I can do better next time. And that was how I got started in this whole self awareness journey. I started learning about myself, I started learning about who I am as a person. That was how I discovered personality test. And that was how I started trying to understand how I operate, um, my personality, the way I see relationships, the way I see friends, the way I see family. I started digging deep into my perspective and my view of the world and how that shapes the decisions that I make. This is what self awareness is about. It's about learning yourself. You select you as a subject. You know how you go to school and you study something exactly. You select yourself as a subject and you delve into the subject. I like the way I said delve. But you delve into the subject of you. You get a bachelor's degree in you. You get a master's degree in you. You get a PhD in you. It's a lifelong journey of learning who you are, learning how you function. That was how my journey started, and then I started reading books like Battlefield of the Mind by Joyce Meyer, because I then realized that I had a lot of things in my brain, a lot of um, belief systems that I had acquired over the years that weren't really aligned with my true values, my core values. So I started reading books like The Battlefield of the Mind. I read books like Why You Act the Way You Do, by Tim LaHaye, I think. I read The Confident Woman by Joyce Meyer. I started digging deep, and then I started journaling, writing my feelings, how I'm feeling in a particular moment, and days when I couldn't journal, I'll record an audio and then listen back on it to really understand, to hear myself. And I'm so glad every single day. I'm just so glad that I did that. And I've got a self-awareness journal up on Amazon that you can get it. I'll put the link also in the description so you can get that and kickstart your journey. Anyway, so that's just like a foundational description of what self-awareness is about and how my own self-awareness journey began. I'm still on the journey. I'm not here to tell you, oh, I'm so 100% self-aware. No, it's a lifelong commitment. We are all on this journey together. Okay. So I'm not coming to you like some kind of expert. I'm just a woman on a journey. All right. Now that we've unpacked what self-awareness is about, let's look at why it's important. Look, self-awareness is critical. As I mentioned, it's critical to your growth. It's critical to your becoming. It's critical because it impacts how you do life. It impacts how you do relationships. If you're not self-aware, if you're not clear on your values, your beliefs, you could end up making mistakes when it comes to relationships. Because a lot of times, the reason why people get into the wrong relationships is because they have not clarified their own personal values. And to me, that's a critical step in deciding who to get into a relationship with. You have to understand your values. And you can't understand your values if you have not taken the time to dig deep into who you are, into your core, to unearth that, right? So it's critical to your who you decide to get into a relationship with. It's critical to how you work. There are certain types of jobs that you should not take because of who you are, because of the kind of personality that you have. Some professions might be better for you compared to others because of how you work, because of how you operate. But if you don't know that, you're going to be so frustrated because you're doing a job that is not suited to your uniqueness. For example, for me, I thrive in creative environments. I don't like monotony. Like I don't like doing the same thing over and over and over and over and over and over again, right? I like to get my creative juices flowing because that is how I get satisfaction. I like to be creative. I like colors, patterns, things like that, things that engage the creative side of my brain. I'm not I'm not a monotonous person, but some people like that monotony. They like that routine of going to work and doing the same thing over and over and over and over and over again. Do you understand? Some people are very strategic. They understand the big picture. They know how to strategize. They know how to create a vision, but they are very horrible when it comes to execution. You're right, right? So for people like that, if you put them in a role where they have to implement, it becomes tricky, right? But if you give them a role where they have to maybe draw up a plan, create a strategy, things like that, when they do have to do all of the analysis, synthesize all of that information, and then come up with a strategy based on that, they thrive in that kind of environment. But if you tell them, okay, Ngwanu, go and start implementing, you're going to have problem. Because it's not just in tandem with who they are. It's not in tandem with their strengths, right? So when you are self-aware, you know your strengths, you know your weaknesses. And in that journal that I created, I put together something called a SWOT analysis for you, a personal SWOT analysis where you outline your strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. Okay. But yeah, I don't want to talk too much about that. The link is in the description because I don't want this to be salesy. Anyway, so but yeah, understanding who you are is critical to your work life, your love life, even your family life, how you relate with your spouse, how you relate with your children. So this is really important, guys. Now that we've established that, the question now is, how do you become more self-aware? Now, for those of you who are already on this journey, please feel free to pop in the comment section some of the things that you're doing. Give us the tips, some of the books that you're reading, just so that we can all grow together as a community. All right. But I've just outlined a few strategies that can help you. What are the ways that you can become much more self-aware? The first step is to be committed to it. Understand that it's a lifelong journey. Nobody wakes up and says, oh, now I am fully self aware. It's a lifelong journey of peeling the layers of who you are because there is more to you than what you see, right? There are layers and layers and layers of who you are. And it's so beautiful how God has created and crafted us as human beings. Like, I think the first step in this being committed to your journey is number one, understanding that you're a unique human being. You are so unique. There's never going to be anybody like you in this world. You are the first and last of your kind, right? You are so unique. And when you understand this, then you then need to be committed to exploring that uniqueness and all of the layers that are in you, peeling all of that back, understanding that it's going to take you your whole life, but it's a beautiful journey and it gets better. The older you get, the more exposed you are to certain situations, the more you have the opportunity to learn about yourself. The second thing that you need to do is to observe yourself, watch yourself. I think that this is critical when you're on the self awareness journey because you have to catch yourself, watch your behavior, reflect. I think it was Socrates that said, an unexamined life is a life that's not worth living. You have to be able to examine yourself, be a watcher. I heard someone say, be a watcher of yourself, be a watcher of your thoughts, be a watcher of your behavior. And this is a skill that you need to practice, and it gets better the more you do it. Be able to stand outside of yourself and watch yourself. Like, observe in certain situations, watch the way that you are processing certain things. Watch the way you are processing certain um situations, or the thoughts that are popping up in your head as you go through certain situations. For example, for me, one of the things that I do, I reflect, right? I reflect on my thoughts. I reflect on my actions. I ask myself, why am I thinking, or why did I think this way, or why did I act this way, or what was it about this situation that triggered that I found a bit disconcerting, or that I found a bit, you know, that just did not go well with me. What was it about this person? What it is it about this person or this situation or this action that did not just sit well with me? Why did I receive that information in that way? Why did I act that way? And sometimes, besides even reflecting after the fact or after it has happened, sometimes I find myself reflecting even as the thing is going on, as the situation is going on. Maybe I'm having a conversation with the person and certain thoughts are coming up in my mind. I'm asking myself questions as I'm listening to the person. I'm asking myself questions. I'm asking myself, am I being judgmental? Am I receiving this information well? Or am I just judging this person? Okay, let me really, try to understand where this person is coming from. Let me put myself in this person's shoes. So all of that is happening as I'm going through that situation. Yeah, observe what you're going through, observe the situations, reflect on your actions, because it is when you examine your actions that you're able to do better with it. For example, before now, whenever I'm upset, oh my God, I used to be, I'm sick. I'm a naturally emotional person, highly emotional. But I've learned that that can be a strength and also a weakness. It's a strength because if I manage it well, I'm able to put myself in people's shoes, which is beautiful, which makes me empathetic to their situation. Not a lot of people have that ability, right? But as a weakness, it can be my undoing, because situations that require calm or require, a lot more mature response, I might, you know, overreact to it, right? Because again, I'm because I tend to be very impulsive in my reactions because I'm highly emotional and highly sensitive. So before now, whenever I'm upset, oh my goodness, I will scream, I will break things. Yeah, like I was like that impulsive with my behavior. I will break things, I will smash things, I will shout at the top of my voice, because to me that I felt like there was no way I could control myself. I felt like, this is normal. To me, it was normal. To me, I felt like this is how to express that you are upset, right? But as I got on this journey and I started taking time to reflect on myself, I started learning to rein in my emotions. It's not 100% perfect, but at least when I'm upset, I don't smash things. Not anymore. I don't do that anymore, right? But I still catch myself from time to time, maybe raising my voice. But over time, I have learned to label my emotions. I'm upset. I've learned to also communicate my emotions, right? I've learned to say, look, I'm upset. Look, I'm tired. Look, I'm stressed out. I'm burnt out. To catch myself and label what it is that I'm feeling, and label what it is that triggered that feeling. Or so I say, I don't, this, what this person said hurt my feelings, right? Or what this person did hurt my feelings. I'm disappointed, right? I feel betrayed. Having the language to describe these emotions has helped me. Okay, so that's why it's important for you to reflect on your actions, to think about, examine what it is that, examine your actions, examine your triggers as well. Another way that you grow in this self awareness journey is that you must be prepared for the truth. Look, let me tell you, I'm not going to deceive you. This self awareness journey is not an easy one, and not everyone can do it, because to do it, you have to be humble. As a human being, you have your ego, you have your pride, right? But when you get started on this journey, you have to be willing to lay your pride down because you're going to be confronted with truth. It's like placing the mirror in front of yourself. You have to be prepared for what you're going to see. And you have to be willing to accept the truth. Like I said, being self aware is knowing your strengths and your weaknesses. And we all have our weaknesses. Nobody's perfect. I'm going to tell you that. Nobody's perfect. We all have things about us that is not very pretty. Like I just said to you, I can be very emotional, right? And sometimes that can be over the top, and I can overreact to things. That's a weakness, but it can also be a strength if I'm able to channel that properly, right? So you have to be able to confront, you have to be able to sit with the truth. Being self-aware is being able to sit with the truth. Sit with yourself and tell yourself the truth. I'm rude. I you have to tell yourself, like, I don't know how to show discretion. I talk anyhow. I can be too desperate. I'm too needy. I'm too aloof. I'm too fearful. I'm too pessimistic, right? I'm unrealistic. I'm too idealistic, right? You have to be ready for the truth. As you put that mirror in front of yourself, be like, even the Bible says it, like you're trying to take out the speck in someone's eye. Meanwhile, there's a huge log like this inside your own eye. Right? So be prepared for truth on this journey. Be prepared to tell yourself the truth. Okay. And a lot of times, the essence of that is not to make you feel bad about yourself. It is for you to see your humanity. It is for you to see that, okay, I'm not perfect. And it's for you to extend grace to yourself and understand, okay, this needs to be worked on, just so that you are aware of it. Like I mentioned, because I know that I can be judgmental, right? So a lot of times when I'm in situations, because I'm aware of that, I have to understand, or I have to ask myself, okay, am I being judgmental here? Perhaps I need to extend grace to this person. And the reason I can ask myself that question is because I am aware of that flaw. I am aware that I have that flaw, right? So be prepared to be confronted with the truth, because you are not perfect. You are not perfect. And that is okay. Also, it is important for you to know your triggers. When you start this journey, one of the things that you would need to uncover are the things and the people that trigger you, the things that evoke some kind of emotional reaction to you. Everybody has that. There are certain situations and certain kinds of people that irk you. They get on your nerve, and you have to be able to spot it, so that whenever you find yourself around those people, you know how to get a handle on yourself, and you're able to maybe walk away from that situation, or better self manage, right? So for some people don't like people that talk too much. They cannot be around people that don't talk too much. People that talk too much. And some people don't like people that don't talk. Some people are triggered by people who are too reserved, right? Some people don't like people that are always maybe talking over other people. Some people, it triggers them. Like, why can't you just listen? Why must your voice be the loudest in the room? Right? Some people don't like that. Okay? So you need to know the kind of situations that trigger you. Some people cannot stand someone being mistreated. It generates some kind of emotional chain reaction in them, that they can just go off and maybe start hitting that person. They just detest injustice. They just detest seeing people being mistreated. Okay, so you need to know what your emotional triggers are. What are the types of things that you cannot stand? You cannot stand it. You know that if I'm around people that behave this way, we're going to have a problem. I might not be able to to get a handle on myself. And you also need to beyond knowing that, you also need to understand, begin to unearth the reason why people like that trigger you. If you look deeper, it might be something that had to do, maybe because of your childhood, because of the way that you were raised, right? Because of the kind of environment that you grew up in. I'll give you an example. I One time I had an issue with someone, and when we kind of dug deeper into it, I saw that that person was treating me in a certain way because I triggered something in them, and because that person kind of values community, right? And I'm not a community. Um, I wasn't raised to be community oriented, right? I was raised to be kind of individualistic in the sense that, just me, my closest family, and my closest friends, right? But this other person had a completely different upbringing. This person is very community oriented, and this person values that. And so, because I wasn't behaving in a way that they kind of expected that I would behave based on their own preferences, it kind of irked them, right? And so that is an example of understanding the things and the kinds of people that trigger you. Okay. So if you when you understand this, then you know how to handle such people, you know how to handle such situations. It is very critical because it helps you see that everybody is not going to be like you, and people will not always act in a way that you expect them to do. So it's better for you to understand these buttons, that how people can push your buttons, and so that you are better prepared for handling such situations. Another way that you can become more self-aware is to keep a journal. Look, I think journaling is one of the best things that has happened to me. I don't do it every day, I don't do it all the time, but it comes in very handy, especially when I'm trying to understand my feelings. Sometimes I realize that the best way to understand how I'm feeling is to just write it down. Sometimes I just write as I'm feeling. You don't need to follow the rules of grammar. It doesn't need to be perfect. It can be messy. You can draw, you can shade, you can, use sticky notes. However it is, however it works for you, it's good to just pour out your emotions, and then you go back and go through it and see how the emotions are coming out, and then you can begin to examine it, and then in that process you learn more about yourself. Now, I understand that a lot of people are not journal people. I understand that not a lot of people, it's not everyone that likes to write how they are feeling, and like for some people it's weird. I understand that. In that case, maybe you can do an audio journaling. I do that sometimes when I'm not, like, I just don't feel like writing. You can just sit down, or even video journaling. You can just sit down, record yourself, record how you feel. Just talk. Just talk. Just keep talking. Just keep talking. Just keep talking. Keep talking. And then when you're done, go back and listen to it. Hear yourself, hear your thoughts, hear how you're feeling. And then, based on the emotions that you expressed in that audio recording or that video recording, you can then begin to ask yourself, okay, why am I feeling this way? Okay, what can I do about it? Okay, maybe what do I do next time I feel this way, right? So by keeping a journal, be it a good old paper and pen journal, or an audio journal, or a video journal, you can better understand your emotions. And finally, seek feedback. This one is hard. There was a time um I asked my friend, my one of my closest friends, I asked her, how do I come off? It was a hard thing to do. It was a very hard thing to do because I was like, I don't know if I'm prepared for the answer. And then she said to me, well, Anybody who doesn't really know you might think that you just want to be alone. And I was like, but I don't want to be alone. And it was hard to receive that feedback. But I'm glad that she was kind enough to give it to me, because it showed me that I was coming across as aloof and, standoffish, which is not what I really wanted, right? It's not how I wanted to be perceived. But then again, it's important to balance things. As much as I want to be authentic to who I am, I also do not want to get the wrong thing out of it. Like, yeah, it could be that some people might perceive that I want to be left alone because of my introverted nature, which is not a bad thing. I mean, my being introverted is not a bad thing. It's who I am. So what I then did was I sat with myself and said, okay, why am I giving off the energy that I want to be alone, even though that is not the case? Right. And I thought, okay, it had a lot to do with how I really felt on the inside. And it had a lot to do with fear. So the reason I was being aloof and standoffish was not because I intentionally wanted to push people away, but because I was afraid on the inside. I was afraid of being hurt. And because I was afraid of being hurt, I did not let people get close to me. Now, to be able to correct that, what I needed to do was not to suddenly become extroverted, which is inconsistent with who I am. I'm not an extroverted person, right? So what I then did was to correct the fear itself. Do you get what I'm trying to say? So sometimes when you receive feedback, it's not for you to say, oh, now because they said I don't like talking too much, let me start talking too much. No, it's for you to go deeper and say, okay, what exactly is the reason why? Maybe there is some kind of trauma that is producing that energy. Do you understand? So in my case, I had to go back and say, okay, it's the fear of being hurt. It's the fear of being betrayed. It's the fear of being taken for granted. It's the fear that when people see that I'm actually just a very easygoing, simple person that is genuine, that is very genuine and genuinely loves the people that I love, they might take advantage of it. So there was that fear of people taking advantage of who I truly am, right? And I didn't want that. But I had to go back and then work on that. So what I did was, okay, I started labeling relationships, labeling friendships, right? And then I said, you know what? I'm going to be very mindful of the people that rather than shut everybody out, I give people a chance. And then when I see that, okay, this person could potentially, based on my interaction with you, when I see that this person could potentially hurt me, I just don't allow you get close to me. It's a way that I'm able to effectively, interact with people while also protecting myself. Do you understand what I'm trying to say? So, yeah, seek feedback. That feedback, a lot of times, and please seek it from people that love you. Please don't go and ask your enemy. I'm just joking. But don't go and ask people that don't really like you like that. What do you think about how I show up in the world? No. They will break you down. Right? So yeah, seek feedback from people that actually really love you and people who will be able to tell you the truth, right? In love. So I'll just throw this in here quickly. If you can afford therapy, please do it. Therapy also helps you to grow in self-awareness and to learn more about yourself. So if you can afford therapy, please definitely go for therapy. Speak to a counselor. It will help you greatly. All right. Okay. So at this point, we have come to the end of today's episode. I hope you enjoyed it. If you have any thoughts or comments about any of the points that I've shared, please feel free to put them in the comment section. I talked about the Myers-Briggs test. I'll find the link and also put that in here because I found that really helpful. Um, Also, I'll recommend there's this book that I started reading. It's called Emotional Intelligence 2.0, and you can take an emotional intelligence test. That I found that book really helpful. I'm still finding it helpful as well. So I'll also see if I can find a link to that and put that in the video as well. But yeah, if you know any other books that people can read that you think will be really helpful to people in this self-awareness journey, please put it in the comment section just so that we can all learn, we can all grow together. And definitely, if you know anyone you think would find this video helpful, insightful, valuable, please do well to share with them. Okay, so again, let me know in the comment section what your thoughts are about some of the things that I've shared, what you're doing on your own self-awareness journey. All right. And if you haven't subscribed, with all these valuable information we're sharing on this podcast. Haba. But yeah, if you haven't subscribed, please do well to subscribe and share this with someone that you love. Okay, and I'll see you again in my next video. Bye bye.